Good afternoon. Well, more on that story now. In KwaZulu-Natal, around 500,000 people could be about to lose the incomes that sustain them because of the problems around the company Tongaat Hulett. The sugar producer now on business rescue. It's failed to pay farmers who delivered sugarcane to its mills at the end of October. The company ran into trouble after its CEO Gavin Staude essentially hid the true nature of its accounts from people. Both he and an auditor now face criminal charges. Dr. Siyabonga Madlala is executive chair of the South African Farming Development Agency. Dr. Madlala, good afternoon to you. This is a real blow to farmers. These are people, many of them smaller farmers. They'll have been growing their crop throughout the year. They'll have paid people to get the harvest in. Now they're not getting paid by Tongaat Hulett.
Afternoon, Stephen, and the viewers of Newzroom Afrika at large, for South Africa. It is a catastrophe, especially for a small-scale farmer. Tongaat Hulett's going into the ditch like this, it's like a shock, and we don't know now what the future holds. But the big problem being that even now, the farmers are not sure when they're going to get paid, and they can't give answers to their employees.
So they can't give answers to their employees. Most of them probably grow really only sugarcane. They rely on this crop in that area, I would think.
Yeah, without causing an alarm yet, because we are scheduled to meet the business rescue practitioners tomorrow. But right now, it is month end. Farmers should have been paid on Saturday, and they were not able to pay their labor wages, and they haven't been continuing to supply the sugarcane because of uncertainty. Jobs are at risk. We don't know what to say. Without causing a scare, we are hopeful that the sanity will prevail. But right now, as we speak, we don't have answers to our farmers, and that's a big problem. Farmers are calling us every minute of the day.
I can imagine. Dr. Madlala, when you meet the business rescue practitioners tomorrow, what are you going to ask from them?
High on the list is that whatever they do, they first need to pay the farmers their dues. They owe over 400 million in the monthly bills that they're going to pay farmers, and farmers have also their own monthly bills that they've got to sort out. So that's the key aspect. But also, we would appeal on all of everyone involved to keep this operation afloat, because this is the bedrock and the backbone of the KwaZulu-Natal rural economy. The Tongaat Hulett catchment, has more than 6,000 small-scale farmers supplying that, and it's a big operation. It's actually a huge operation for small-scale farmers. So it supports big rural towns as well. It's quite a key economic hub for the rural economy in KZN. So I'm also a supplier of Tongaat Hulett personally, and I don't know what I would do with my farm. It's catastrophic to both small-scale and commercial farmers, but you can imagine how it hits small-scale farmers who only depend on that income as their household income.
The other thing is that the small-scale farmers, have done nothing wrong here. This is about an accounting scandal by someone who sat in a very nice, comfortable office every day.
This is the sad part about this. In fact, what I would blame Tonga to have done injustice on is that they paid their staff on the 25th, then pulled the plug on the 26th, when in fact we were not even aware, and we could have even at least kept farmers aware of it to prepare themselves for this shocking news. So the sad part is that we got to hear about this just right towards the end of the month when we are due to pay our staff and employees. We don't know what to say. That's the sad part. Employees, it's not their fault, and so I would think it's quite an injustice, and we'd have to. Someone is going to take the blame and the fall for it. But I think something has to be done towards fixing this Tongaat Hulett. It's a critical component of the sugar industry. Tongaat Hulett, the refinery itself in Tongaat Hulett supplies a lot of the local demand. So I think something has to be done. We can't have this thing, this sector go under.
I would like to think that, the business rescue practitioners are obviously going to have to deal with what they are dealing with. They'll need space to do that. The Tongaat Hulett owes, I think it's 5 billion rand to bankers, and they obviously need the money back. I would like to think that if the company goes under, maybe someone will buy it and the facilities and keep the whole process going, so the farmers would still have a market.
Yeah, that's the crux of it as we speak, Stephen. Some Samaritan has to come on board. I believe farmers are also discussing their own. We as farmers also are thinking of putting up a pledge to buy the mill so that we can own it up. but I must say that there's got to be alignment between small-scale farmers and commercial farmers, because the incentives have got to be aligned. You know, for commercial farmers, they need these mills running to also to keep the value of their farms up and high. But a small-scale farmer doesn't have really, you know, value accruing for their farms because they're farming on communal land. But they need a mill closer. So the mills are quite critical for every sector of the farmer's sustainability. But I think it's still early days to really decide on what's the future. But I do believe that it's got to be integrated this time around so that we can protect the interests of everybody. Right now, the interests of farmers were not protected. And like I said, how does Tongaat pay its labor and then pull the plug? We should have at least got a chance to pay our labor as well and then prepare for the West. Now we did not even prepare anything.
I know that often what happens in these cases is the farmers themselves might try and get together, maybe buy the mill, buy part of Tongaat Hulett. I don't know if they'll have capital to do that. Or maybe they could borrow it. I don't know. Would you support that?
Well, fortunately, I wear two hats. I'm a commercial farmer on my own, but I also wear the small-scale grower hat. I certainly wouldn't advise a small-scale farmer when they already don't have money to sustain their businesses, because their businesses are quite thin on margins. I wouldn't expect them to pop out any cent of money to buy the mills. But I think commercial farmers, of which I'm one of those, should somewhat find a way to raise this money and then buy the mills for the future of our sector and our node as the Tongaat Hulett catchment. But I don't think small scale farmers would be doing justice for them to pay any cent towards buying a mill. And in fact, it would be using them to actually raise capital. I don't see that is justice. But farmers definitely should have a share in this new venture, because otherwise, for future purposes, I mean, this is our livelihood. It's our future. As farmers, we don't have anywhere else to take our cane but to the closest mill, and the Tongaat Hulett mills are closest to where we are in our catchment.
This is something that happened that's got nothing to do with government, and I don't know if government should intervene in markets. That's an ideological argument. Do you think they need to do something here?
It's a difficult one for me to say anything on, to pronounce on, because I know that the shareholders and the owners of Tongaat Hulett should have been the first call on investing into fixing these mills. These mills have gone down. It's taken years of extortion of value and not reinvesting into the mills. And to go back and expect already, the government is already squeezed into their cash flows, to expect them to rescue this mill, that it would encourage anyone else to run their businesses down and then look upon government to fork out some money. I would rather, if government was to put any money, it would be to assist the small-scale growers component of sharing of ownership of these mills, but not to bail out people who have made billions already and have extorted those billions and then run the companies down. It would encourage bad business practices, and it would encourage this fraud continuing.
Yeah, I mean, as I say, it's a very difficult one, actually, whether government should do anything or not here. I don't think anyone's going to have a firm view on that at this stage. I suggested that if you put it all together, the number of people who rely on Tongaat Hulett, you're looking at 500,000 people. I mean, you talk about your farm, you talk about your workers, your family, the families of your workers. Do you think 500,000 people is about right? In KZN, that's a huge impact in a province that's already dealt with floods, already dealt with the violence last year.
To be exact on numbers, I would be lying, but I know for a fact that the sugar industry at large impacts more than 1 million livelihoods. So Tongaat Hulett being perhaps almost a third of that slice, or rather enjoying a third of the industry in terms of their share. I would think, indeed, the number looks round about there, because it's also the whole downstream operations of Tongaat Hulett that is affected. So, I mean, I know that the refinery already has shut down until further notice, which means all the staff employed there, even the employees of the mill right now, because the mills are rounding up until further notice. You know, this uncertainty is just beyond comprehension.
Dr. Siyabonga Madlala, thank you. Executive Chair of the SA Farmers Development Association, just shows you the impact of an accounting scandal on the real livelihoods, the lives of so many people.